Divine Principle, Chapter 1, The Principle of Creation. Throughout history, people have anguished over the fundamental questions of human life in the universe, without arriving at satisfying answers. This is because no one has understood the root principle by which humanity and the universe were originally created. To approach this topic properly, it's not enough to examine the resultant reality. The fundamental question is that of causal reality. Problems concerning human life in the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. This chapter deals extensively with these questions. Section 1. The dual characteristics of God and the created universe. The dual characteristics of God. How can we know the divine nature of the invisible God? One way to fathom his deity is by observing the universe, which he created. Thus, St. Paul said, "Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible power, nature, namely his eternal power and deity, have been clearly perceived in all the things that have been made, so they are without excuse," meaning those who crucified the Lord of glory. Just as a work of art displays the invisible nature of its maker in a concrete form, everything in the created universe is a substantial manifestation of some quality of the Creator's invisible divine nature. As such, each stands in a relationship to God, just as we can come to know the character of an artist through his works, so we can understand the nature of God by observing the various things of creation. Let's begin by pointing out the common elements which are found universally throughout the natural world. Every being possesses both dual characteristics of yang, masculinity, and yin, femininity, and comes into existence only when these characteristics have formed reciprocal relationships, both within the entity, the being, and between it and other beings and entities around it. For example, subatomic particles, the basic building blocks of all matter, possess either a positive charge or a negative charge or a neutral charge formed by the neutralization of positive and negative constituents. When particles join with each other through the reciprocal relationships of their dual characteristics, they form an atom. Atoms in turn display either a positive or a negative valence. When the dual characteristics within one atom enter into reciprocal relationships with those of another atom, they form a molecule. Molecules formed in this manner engage in further reciprocal relationships between their dual characteristics, and so eventually become nourishment fit for consumption by plants or animals. Plants propagate by means of stamen and pistil. Animals multiply and maintain their species through the relationships between males and females. According to the Bible, after God created Adam, he saw that it wasn't good that man should live alone. Only after God created Eve as Adam's female counterpart did he declare that his creations were very good. Even though atoms become positive or negative ions after ionization, each still consists of a positive nucleus and a negative electrons in stable unity. Similarly, each animal, whether male or female, maintains its life through the reciprocal relationships of yang and yin elements within itself. The same holds true for every plant. In people, a feminine nature is found latent in men, and a masculine nature is found latent in women. Moreover, every creation exists with correlative aspects of inside and outside, internal and external, front and rear, right and left, up and down, high and low, strong and weak, rising and falling, long and short, wide and narrow, east and west, north and south, etc. The reason for this is that everything is created to exist through the reciprocal relationships of dual characteristics. Thus we can understand that everything requires for its existence a reciprocal relationship between the dual characteristics of yang and yin. However, there's another pair of dual characteristics in reciprocal relationship which are even more fundamental to existence than the dual characteristics of yang and yin. Every being possesses both an outer form and an inner quality. The visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality. The inner quality, though invisible, possesses a certain structure which is manifested visibly in the particular outer form. The inner quality is called the internal nature. and the outer form or shape is called external form. Since internal nature and external form refer to corresponding inner and outer aspects of the same being, the external form may also be understood as a second internal nature. Therefore, the internal nature and external form together constitute or form the dual characteristics. Let's take human beings as an example. A human being is composed of an outer form, the body, and an inner quality, the mind. The body is a visible reflection of the invisible mind. Because the mind possesses a certain structure, the body which reflects it also takes on a particular appearance. This is the idea behind a person's character and destiny being perceived through examining his outward appearance by such methods as physiognomy or palm reading. Here, the mind is the internal nature, and the body is the external form. Mind and body are two correlative aspects of a human being. Hence, the body may be understood as a second mind. Together, they constitute the dual characteristics of a human being. Similarly, all beings exist through reciprocal relationships between their dual characteristics of internal nature and external form. What's the relationship between internal nature and external form? The internal nature is intangible and causal and stands in the position of a subject partner to the external form. The external form is tangible, resultant, and stands in the position of an object partner to the internal nature. The mutual relationships between these two aspects of a being include internal and external, cause and result, subject partner and object partner, vertical and horizontal. So let's again use the example of a human being, whose mind and body are his internal nature and external form respectively. The body resembles the mind and moves according to its commands in such a way as to sustain life, and moves according and pursue the mind's purposes. Mind and body thus have a mutual relationship of internal and external, cause and result, subject partner and object partner, vertical and horizontal. Similarly, all created beings, regardless of their level of complexity, possess an intangible internal nature, which corresponds to the human mind, and a tangible external form, which corresponds to the human body. Within each being, the internal nature, which is causal and subject, commands the external form. This relationship allows the individual being to exist and function purposefully as a creation of God. Animals live and move because their bodies are directed by an internal faculty corresponding to the human mind, which endows them with a certain purpose. Plants maintain their organic functions by virtue of their internal nature, which also operates like the human mind in some respects. The human mind imparts to every person a natural inclination to join with others in harmony. Likewise, positive ions and negative ions come together to form particular molecules, because within every one of them exists a rudimentary internal nature which guides them toward that end. Electrons assemble around nuclei to form atoms because they possess an attribute of internal nature which directs them toward that purpose. According to modern science, all particles that constitute atoms are made up of energy. For energy to form particles, it too must possess an internal nature which directs it to assume specific forms. Probing deeper still, we search for the ultimate cause, which brought this energy, with its elements of internal nature and external form, into existence. This being would be the first cause of all the myriad things in the universe. As the first cause, it must also possess the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form, which stand in the position of subject partner to the internal natures and external forms of all beings. We call this first cause of the universe God, and we call God's internal nature and external form the original internal nature and original external form. As St. Paul indicated, by investigating characteristics that are universally present in the various things of creation, we can come to know the nature of God. God is the first cause of the entire universe, and its subject partner, having the harmonious dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form. We've already mentioned that entities require for their existence the reciprocal relationship between the dual characteristics of yang and yin. It is only natural to surmise that God, the first cause of all things, also exists based on the reciprocal relationship between the dual characteristics of yang and yin. The verse, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them," supports the idea that God is the subject partner with dual characteristics of yang and yin in perfect harmony. What's the relationship between the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form and the dual characteristics of yang and yin? God's original internal nature and original external form each contain the mutual relationships of original yang and yin. Therefore, original yang and original yin are attributes of original internal nature and original external form. The relationship between yang and yin is similar to that which exists between internal nature and external form. Yang and yin thus have the following mutual relationships: internal and external, cause and result, subject partner and object partner, vertical and horizontal. For this reason it's written in Genesis that God took a rib from Adam, the man Adam, and created a woman, Eve, to be his helper. In this case, the yang and yin of God are manifested in masculinity and femininity. A human being attains perfection when he centers his life on his mind. Likewise, the creation becomes complete only when God stands as its center. Hence, the universe is a perfect organic body that moves only according to God's purpose of creation. As one organic body, the universe exists in a relationship of internal nature and external form with God as the internal nature and the created universe as the external form. For this reason, it's written in the Bible that human beings, who are the center of the universe, are created in the image of God. Before the creation, God existed alone as the internal and masculine subject partner. He therefore created the universe as his external and feminine object partner. This is supported by the Bible verse which states, "Man is the image and glory of God." In recognition of God's position as the internal and masculine subject partner, we call him our Father. In summary, God is the subject in whom the dual characteristics of original internal character, internal nature, and original external form are in harmony. At the same time, God is the harmonious union of masculinity and femininity, which manifest the qualities of original internal nature and original external form, respectively. In relation to the universe, God is the subject partner, having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity. The relationship between God and the universe. We have learned that every creation is God's substantial object partner, formed in his likeness as a discrete projection of his dual characteristics. God exists as the incorporeal subject partner to all beings. Human beings are object partners embodied at the level of image, and the rest of the creation are object partners embodied at the level of symbol. These object partners are called individual embodiments of truth in image and symbol. Individual embodiments of truth are discrete manifestations of the dual characteristics of God. Therefore, they can be distinguished broadly into two classes: those of yang qualities, which resemble the original internal nature and masculinity of God, and those of yin qualities, which resemble the original external form and femininity of God. Although individual embodiments of truth belong to either of these two classes, since they are all substantial object partners of God, resembling his original internal nature and external form, they each possess within themselves both internal nature and external form, and likewise both yang and yin. In light of our understanding of the dual characteristics, the relationship between God and the universe can be summarized thus: the universe as a whole is a substantial object partner to God. It is composed of individual embodiments of truth, each a unique manifestation of the dual characteristics of God at either the level of image or symbol, as governed by the principle of creation. The myriad qualities of God, in their duality, are apportioned into various human beings, each an incarnate object partner at the level of image. These qualities are also apportioned to all the various things of creation, each an embodied object partner at the level of symbol. The relationship between God and the universe is similar to that between internal nature and external form. It's a mutual relationship, like that between the dual characteristics of internal and external, cause and result, vertical and horizontal, subject partner and object partner, and so forth. Finally, from the viewpoint of the principle of creation, let's investigate the metaphysical concept at the root of East Asian philosophy, which is based on the Book of Changes, the I Ching. There, the origin of the universe is the great ultimate, or the ultimate void. From the great ultimate arose yang and yin. From yang and yin came forth the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. And from the 5 elements all the things came into existence. Yang and yin together are called the Way, or the Tao. And whereas the Book of Changes states, one yang and one yin, this is the Way. The Way is traditionally defined as the Word. To put all this together, from the great ultimate arose yang and yin, or the Word, and all things came into being based on the Word. Accordingly, the great ultimate is the first cause of all existing beings, the integral nucleus and harmonious subject partner of yang and yin. It's written in the Gospel of John that the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that all things were made through the Word. Comparing this to the metaphysics rooted in the Book of Changes, we can surmise that the great ultimate, as the harmonious source of yang and yin, or the Word, is none other than God, who, as we have seen, is a harmonious subject partner of dual characteristics. According to the principle of creation, the fact that everything created through the Word has dual characteristics shows that the Word itself consists of dual characteristics. Consequently, the claim made in the Book of Changes that yang and yin together are the Word is valid. However, this East Asian metaphysics observes the universe exclusively from the viewpoint of yang and yin, while failing to recognize that all things also possess an internal nature and an external form. Therefore, although it reveals that the great ultimate is the subject partner of harmonious yang and yin, it fails to show that the great ultimate is also the subject partner of harmonious original internal nature and original external form. Hence, it doesn't comprehend that the great ultimate is a God with personality. We have learned that the root concept of East Asian philosophy, as based on the Book of Changes, can be fully illuminated only with the help of the principle of creation. In recent years, Oriental medicine has become recognized to an increasing degree throughout the world. Its success is due to the fact that its founding principles, which focus upon the concepts of yang and yin, are in accordance with the principle of creation. Section 2. Universal prime energy, give and take action, and the 4-position foundation. Universal prime energy. God, the creator of all things, is the absolute reality, eternal, self-existent, and transcendent of time and space. The fundamental energy of God's being is also eternal, self-existent, and absolute. It's the origin of all energies and forces that allow created beings to exist. We call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. Give and take action. Through the agency of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every being form a common base and enter into interaction, a relationship. This interaction in turn generates all the forces the being needs for existence, multiplication, and action. The interaction generating these forces through this process is called give and take action, or giving and receiving action. Universal prime energy and the forces generated by give and take action are in a reciprocal relationship of cause and result, internal and external, and subject partner and object partner. Universal prime energy may be thought of as a vertical force, while the forces generated by give and take action as horizontal forces. Let's examine in detail God and His creation in terms of the universal prime energy and give and take action. God's universal prime energy directs His eternal dual characteristics to form a common base for their mutual relationship. They then engage in give and take action, and based on these forces generated by the give and take action, The dual characteristics construct a foundation for their eternal reciprocation. This is the foundation for God's existence, upon which God eternally exists and generates all the forces needed to create and sustain the universe. In the created universe, the dual characteristics that make up each being are empowered by universal prime energy to establish a common base. They then engage in give-and-take action, and based on the forces generated by this give-and-take action, the dual characteristics construct a foundation for their continued reciprocation. This becomes the foundation for the existence of each individual being, upon which the being becomes an object partner to God, and is able to generate all forces necessary for its continued existence. For example, atoms come into existence when electrons assemble about a nucleus and engage in electromagnetic interaction, which is a type of give-and-take action. When positive ions and negative ions perform give-and-take action, they form molecules and produce chemical reactions. The give-and-take action between positive and negative electrical charges underlies all electrical phenomena. The circulation of nutrients between xylem and phloem is one of the give-and-take actions in plants that sustain their life functions and promote their growth. The give-and-take action between stamen and pistil is the dominant means for the reproduction of plant life. Animals multiply and maintain their species through the give-and-take action between male and female. Animal and plant life coexist through such give-and-take actions as the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide and the cooperation between bees and flowers. With respect to the heavenly bodies, the solar system exists based on the give-and-take action between the sun and the planets. Their various movements give structure to the universe. The earth and the moon also maintain their rotations and their revolution in a set orbit through their give-and-take action. The human body maintains its life through the give-and-take actions between arteries and veins, inhalation, exhalation, sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves, and so forth. The give-and-take action between mind and body enables an individual to carry out activities which further the purpose of life. The give-and-take action between a husband and wife in a family, among people in a society, between the government and the citizens in a nation, and among the nations of the world, are essential for them to live together in harmony and peace. However evil a person may be, the force of his conscience, which impels him toward a virtuous life, is always active within his inner self. This is true for all people of all ages and places. No one can quell the force of conscience, which is powerfully at work even without one's conscious awareness. The minute a person commits an evil act, he immediately feels pangs of conscience. If the function of the conscience were absent in fallen people, God's providence of restoration would be impossible. How is this force of conscience generated? Since all forces are produced through give-and-take action, the conscience cannot generate the force needed for all its operations all by itself. That is to say, the conscience can operate only when it forms a common base with some subject partner and engages in give-and-take action with it. The ultimate subject partner of our conscience is God. The human fall, in essence, severed our relationships with God. Rather than attaining oneness with God, our ancestors joined in a reciprocal relationship with Satan, thereby becoming one with him. Jesus was the only begotten Son of God. He attained oneness with God through perfect give-and-take action. When we unite with Jesus in perfect reciprocal relationships, we can recover our original God-given nature. We can cultivate a give-and-take action with God and become one with him. This is how Jesus serves as the mediator for fallen people. He is our way, truth, and life. Jesus came with love and sacrifice to give all that he had to humanity, even offering his life. If we turn to him in faith, we'll not perish, but have eternal life. Christianity is a religion of love. It strives through love and sacrifice to open the path to restore the horizontal relationship of give and take between the people in the love of Christ. On this horizontal foundation of love, the way is open to restore our vertical relationship of give and take with God. In truth, this was the main purpose of all the teachings and deeds of Jesus. For example, Jesus said, "Judge not, that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will also be judged. And the measure you give will be the measure you get. So whatever you wish that men would do to you, do so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. He who receives a prophet because he is a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water, because he is a disciple, truly I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. The four-position foundation which realizes the three-object purpose through origin, division, union, action. Origin, division, union, action. The process of God's creation begins when the dual characteristics within God form a common base through the prompting of his original universal prime energy, and as they engage in give and take action, they generate a force which engenders multiplication. This force projects the dual characteristics into discrete substantial object partners, each relating to God as its center. These object partners to God then assume the position of subject partner and object partner to each other as they are prompted by the universal prime energy to form a common base and engage in give and take action. They then join together in one harmonious union to form a new object partner to God. This whole process, in which out of God the origin, two entities are separately manifested and reunited in oneness, is called origin, division, union, action. The three-object purpose. As a result of origin, division, union, action, four positions are formed. The origin at the center, the subject partner and object partner, distinct substantial object partners to the origin in the pattern of its dual characteristics, and their union. Any one of the four positions may assume the position of subject partner and engage the other three as its object partners, forming a communion of three object partners. When each of the four then acts as the subject partner and enters into give and take with the other three revolving around it, they fulfill the three-object purpose. The four-position foundation. When, through origin, division, union, action, the origin, the subject partner and object partner projected from the origin, and their union all fulfill the three-object purpose, the four-position foundation is established. The original significance of the number 4 derives from the four-position foundation. The original significance of the number 3 also derives from it, because it's the fulfillment of the three-object purpose. The four-position foundation is realized by God, husband and wife, and children. They complete the three stages of origin, division, union, action. Hence, the four-position foundation is the root of the principle of three stages. Furthermore, each of the four positions in the four-position foundation takes on three object partners in fulfilling the three-object purpose. In total, there are 12 object partners. Hence, from it derives the original significance of the number 12. The four-position foundation is the fundamental foundation of goodness. It's the realization of God's purpose of creation. It's the fundamental foundation for the life of all beings, providing all the forces necessary for their existence and enabling God to abide in them. Therefore, the four-position foundation is God's eternal purpose of creation. The mode of existence of the four-position foundation. All beings which have completed the four-position foundation by fulfilling the three-object purpose through origin, division, union, action, move in circular or elliptical or spherical paths. As a result, they exist in three dimensions. Let's now investigate the reason for this. Through origin, division, union, action, the dual characteristics of God are projected to form two distinct and substantial object partners, which interact with each other as subject partner and object partner. The object partner responds to the subject partner to form a common base and begins give and take action around the subject partner. As they are held in balance, by the force of giving centrifugal and the force of receiving centripetal, the object partner revolves around the subject partner in a circular motion, and thus they become harmonious and unified. In the same manner, the subject partner becomes an object partner to God, revolving around God and thus attaining oneness with Him. When the object partner becomes completely one with its subject partner, their union can stand before God as a new object partner resembling His dual characteristics. Moreover, the way for any object partner to stand as an object partner before God is by making oneness with its subject partner. In this union of subject partner and object partner, the subject partner and object partner are themselves composed of dual characteristics. These, by the same principle of give and take action, carry on their own circular motion. Thus we see circular motions of give and take action within both the subject partner and the object partner, which are simultaneously engaged in the greater circular motion within their union. Although there are moments when the two levels of circular motion among the subject partners and object partners may happen to have orbits on the same plane, and generally, because of the angle of revolution around the subject partner is constantly changing, the circular movement becomes a spherical movement. In short, all beings which have completed the four-position foundation carry on circular and spherical movement, and hence their mode of existence always becomes three-dimensional. Let's take the solar system as an example. The planets standing as object partners to the Sun each form a common base and engage in give and take action with the Sun through centripetal and centrifugal forces. Revolving around the Sun in elliptical orbits, the planets attain harmony and oneness with the Sun to form the solar system. At the same time, the planet Earth, as a composite body of dual characteristics, rotates on its own axis. This is also true of the Sun and the rest of the planets. They are in continuous rotation on their own axes, because they too are composite bodies of dual characteristics. The orbits caused by the give and take action in the solar system do not occupy exactly the same plane. Rather, due to the varied angles of their orbits and rotations, the solar system exhibits spherical motion in three dimensions. Likewise, all heavenly bodies exist in three dimensions by virtue of their circular and spherical movements. When the countless heavenly bodies carry on give and take action with each other, they form one body, and thereby give structure to the universe. The universe exists in three dimensions, as governed by the same principle. Its elements engage in spherical movements. When an electron forms a common base with a proton and engages in give and take action, it moves about the proton in a spherical or otherwise three-dimensional pattern. Thus they unite and form an atom, hydrogen. The electron and proton are themselves composed of dual characteristics that cause them to spin in continuous rotation. Therefore, the circular motion arising from the give and take action between the proton and the electron is not limited to an orbit on one plane, but by continuously altering its angle of revolution, creates a spherical movement. Through spherical movement, the atom thus exists in three dimensions. By the same token, the magnetic force between positive and negative poles causes electrically charged particles to precess in spherical movement. Let's consider the example of human beings. As the object partner to the mind, the body establishes a common base with the mind and engages in give and take action with it. Figuratively speaking, the body then revolves around the mind and attains complete oneness with it. If and when the mind stands as an object partner before God and revolves around Him, resonating in oneness with Him, and when the body becomes one with this mind, the individual will resemble God's dual characteristics and thus stand as God's embodied object partner. Thereupon the person fulfills the purpose of creation. The mind and body are also each composed of dual characteristics, so they carry on continuous movement within themselves. Thus the circular movement produced by the give and take dynamic between mind and body ceaselessly alters the angle of revolution around God and becomes spherical. People who have realized the purpose of creation exist as three-dimensional beings, who always lead their lives in spherical relationships centered on God. This is how they attain mastery even over the incorporeal world. When the circular movement of the subject partner and object partner on a single plane becomes spherical movement in three-dimensional orbit, the dynamism and creativity of the universe unfolds. Variations in each other's distance, shape, state, direction, angle, force, and velocity are manifest as the beauty of creation in its infinite variety. Just as all beings have internal nature and external form, there's a type of spherical motion that corresponds to internal nature and a type that corresponds to external form. Likewise, there's a center of motion that corresponds to internal nature and a center that corresponds to external form. These two centers have the same relationship as between internal nature and external form. What's the ultimate center of these spherical movements? Human beings are the center of all created things, which are embodied object partners to God's dual characteristics and symbol. God is the center of human beings, who are created as his embodied object partners in image. Consequently, the ultimate center of all spherical movements in the universe is God. Let's consider this further. Every object partner to God contains a subject partner and an object partner within itself. The center of their relationship is the subject partner. So the center of the union between the subject partner and object partner is also the subject partner. Since God is the center of the subject partner, he's also the ultimate center of the union. As discussed above, the three substantial object partners to God, subject partner, object partner, and union, also form common bases with each other. As each of the three takes the central position and becomes one with the others through give-and-take action with God as their ultimate center, they fulfill the three-object purpose and establish the four-position foundation. Accordingly, the ultimate center of the four-position foundation is God. All things that have established the four-position foundations in this manner are individual embodiments of truth. As mentioned before, individual embodiments of truth are divided broadly into individual embodiments of truth in image, human beings, and individual embodiments of truth in symbol, the rest of the creation. The universe is composed of countless individual embodiments of truth, mutually related to each other in good order from those of the lowest level to the highest level, and among them all, human beings occupy the highest level. Individual embodiments of truth revolve spherically around each other, with those of a lower level acting as object partners to those of a higher level. Thus, the center of any spherical movement is an individual embodiment of truth at a higher level, which acts as a subject partner. The centers of the countless symbolic individual embodiments of truth are interconnected from the lowest to the highest. The highest centers are human beings, who are individual embodiments of truth in image. Let's examine the centrality of human beings. Science holds that elementary particles are the most basic building blocks of matter and explains that they are composed of energy. Considering the purpose of existence of the individual embodiments of truth that make up the material universe at different levels, we can surmise energy exists in order to form particles. Particles exist in order to form atoms. Atoms to form molecules, molecules to form matter, and matter exists for the creation of all the individual entities in the universe. Likewise, the activity of energy is for the purpose of forming particles. The activity of particles is for the atoms. The activity of atoms is for molecules. The activity of molecules is for matter. And the activity of matter is for the purpose of constructing the universe. What's the purpose of the universe? What's its center? The answer to both questions is none other than human beings. This is why God, after creating human beings, commanded them to have dominion over the universe. If there were no people to appreciate the universe, then it would be likened to a museum without any visitors. The articles on display in a museum attain their true value and are cherished in history as historical relics only when there are people to appreciate them, love them, and take delight in them. Their relationship with human beings gives value to their existence. If there were no one to appreciate them, then what meaning would their existence have? The same holds true for the universe, whose lords are human beings. The various things in creation enter into mutual relationships with a common purpose when human beings discover the source and nature of matter, and when they identify and classify plants and animals, of the water, land, and air, and all the stars in the sky. Their common purpose is realized when they're assimilated in the human body, as elements essential for people to maintain their physiological functions, and when they participate in the construction of a comfortable living environment for people. In these and other ways, human beings stand as the center of the created universe in terms of its external form. In addition, people relate to the universe from their position as the internal center. While the relationships discussed above are physical relationships, here we consider mental or spiritual relationships. The human body, though consisting of matter, fully responds physiologically to emotion, intellect, and will of the human mind. This demonstrates that matter has within itself elements which resonate with emotion, intellect, and will, elements which constitute the internal nature of matter. This is the reason all things in the universe respond to human emotion, intellect, and will, although to different degrees. We become intoxicated with the beauty of the natural world and experience the rapture of mystical union. We experience this because we're the center of the internal natures of all things in the natural world. Human beings are thus created as the center of the universe, and the place where God and human beings become completely one is the center of the cosmos. Let's discuss from another viewpoint how human beings are the center of the cosmos, which is composed of both the spirit world and the physical world. Every human being embodies all the elements of the cosmos. Yet, as we discussed earlier, everything in the cosmos can be broadly divided into subject partners and object partners. Had Adam, the first human ancestor, reached perfection, he would have embodied all the subject elements of the things of creation. Had Eve attained perfection, she would have embodied all the object elements in the things of creation. God created Adam and Eve to have dominion over the natural world. Growing together toward perfection, Adam was to become the king of all the subject elements in the creation, and Eve was to become the queen of all the object elements. If they had then become one, as husband and wife, they would have become the center that could rule the entire universe, consisting of subject partners and object partners. Human beings are created to be the center of harmony of the whole cosmos. If Adam and Eve attained perfection and united as husband and wife, it would have meant the joining into oneness of the two centers of the dual characteristics of all beings. Had Adam and Eve moved together in harmony and attained oneness, the whole cosmos, with its dual characteristics, would have danced in harmony. The place where Adam and Eve become perfectly one in heart and body as husband and wife is also the place where God, the subject partner, giving love, and human beings, the object partners, returning beauty, become united. This is the center of goodness, where the purpose of creation is fulfilled. Here, God, our parent, draws near and abides within his perfected children, and rests peacefully for eternity. This center of goodness is the object partner to God's eternal love, where God can be stimulated with joy for eternity. This is the place where the Word of God is incarnated and brought to fulfillment. It's the center of truth and the center of the original mind, which guides us to pursue the purpose of creation. Consequently, the entire universe will perform a spherical movement with a unified purpose when it's founded on the four-position foundation established by a perfected man and woman who join as husband and wife, centered on God. Tragically, the universe lost its center when human beings fell. This is why St. Paul wrote that the creation has been groaning in travail while longing for the children of God. creation awaits the people who have restored their original nature to appear and become its center. The omnipresence of God. We've learned that the four-position foundation, built upon the three-object purpose, through the origin, division, union, action, proceeds in spherical movement around God and becomes one with God. This is the fundamental foundation for all beings, to receive God's governance and be provided with all the powers necessary for life. In a world where God's purpose of creation has been fulfilled, all individual beings embody God's original internal nature and original external form and initiate spherical movement to build the foundation for God's governance. Thus, God is omnipresent. The multiplication of life. For living things to propagate their kind, they must reproduce. And this multiplication takes place through origin, division, union, action, which is built upon good interactions. For example, in plants, seeds develop into flowers with stamens and pistils. Through pollination, they produce their seed and propagate their kind. Male and female animals mature, engage in courtship, mate, and bear offspring. All cells in animals and plants divide through give-and-take action. When the body acts according to the will of the mind, and the mind and body thus engage in give-and-take action, the individual will live a purposeful life. This individual will then attract like-minded people, and as these companions work together purposefully, productively, their group will grow. It may be said that the universe is formed by the multiplication of myriad substantial manifestations of God's original internal nature and original external form through their give-and-take action in the pursuit of the purpose of creation. The reason all beings are composed of dual characteristics. For any being to exist, energy is required, and energy can be produced only through give-and-take action. However, nothing can reciprocate without a partner. To generate the forces necessary for existence, a being must contain dual characteristics, a subject partner and an object partner, which can engage in give-and-take action. A movement in a straight line cannot be sustained forever. For anything to have an eternal nature, it must move in a circle. Give-and-take action between a subject and object partner is necessary for any circular motion. This is true even for God. Having dual characteristics allows him to live eternally. In order for God's creation to resemble his eternal nature and be his eternal object partner, it likewise must be composed of dual characteristics. Similarly, time maintains its perpetuity through its periodic cycles.